Hello, my wonderful, beautiful brothers and wonderful, beautiful brothers, guys. Of the wonderful, beautiful Maverick Nation. I am the Dark Shadow Maverick, the Dark Shadow Maverick. Mm. Mm. And welcome to another What If. This one, I am sure you Naruto aficionados and you, Anya aficionados, will eat up. Just eat up away. Up and away. Because here we have it's like kind of like my Rainbow Dash one, where if Rainbow Dash was the first ever pony to discover chakra, it's basically the same thing. What if Izuku was the first ever human to discover chakra? Or at least for where he lives, the My Hero Academia reality. For that reality. And what I'm getting at here, guys, is, well, let's just start the what if. Basically, if any of you haven't watched like any little bits of my What If Rainbow Dash was the first one to discover, first one to discover chakra, what if probably have a sort of an idea of what I'm doing. Well, ish. And this one, I'm gonna say, before anything, I'm gonna say it's gonna be kind of like a freelance-ish type anti-hero Izuku What If. And why is he freelance-ish anti-hero? Like, just like that. Not necessarily a villain, but not necessarily a hero either. He walks that middle road, but he also has a little bit of a touch of someone who would be like what you would call someone who's a freelancer. Like Samusur and the freelance bounty hunter, that kind of thing. Freelance. A sort of freelance anti-hero type of what if. Freelance anti-hero Izuku what if. That's basically what this is going to be, sort of, in a way. Everything starting basically with Madara, and basically after everything that happened in the end of Naruto Shippuden, basically having to deal with, divine persecution and all that shit. Kami, Yami, and the Shinigami King, coming before them, basically getting divine persecution all the way to freaking God knows where. Basically, Yami basically reasoning over with Kami, basically saying, well, hell's full enough as it is, so I'm not taking his ass. And Shinigami King is just like, I kinda already have enough souls to deal with as it is after the damn Fourth Shinobi World War. And Kami would just be like, Yami, Shinigami King, you're both lazy bastards. She'd be like, well, seeing as my brothers don't exactly want to have to deal with your ass, Madara Uchiha, I'm basically gonna send you to freaking limbo. See how long you last before you lose your freaking mind. More than you already freaking have. You know, Kami is not up for dealing with her freaking sibling shit. Not even like Yami and Shinigami, not even willing to listen to that shit. Not willing to. And so basically just send in the matter of divine persecution, basically via being trapped within limbo. But the thing is, Kami wasn't necessarily specific about what type or kind of limbo, Madara would be tricked in. And so it's no surprise when Madara figures out that none of any possible leftover limbo clones that he once had are actually there. And, slowly but surely, Madara not only figures out that, from the time whenever he had absorbed Hashirama's, freaking Senju chakra, he still has it. Not only that, but because of this mixture of Uchiha blood and Senju blood, that is indeed one of the ways you can get the Rinnegan, so, no surprise there. Madara still has the freaking Rinnegan. But he finds that he can turn it on and off, basically, in between EMS and Rinnegan. EMS being Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. So EMS and Rinnegan, basically, he can turn it on and off if he wants. Or he cannot show either. That's also an option. But he finds that was rather kind of Kami to still allow him to have the Hashirama cells. After everything that he freaking did. Then he does need to reason out that he was indeed being played by Black Zetsu. So, yeah. And dude even messed with the freaking Uchiha Stone tablet, so no wonder he was freaking played. So I guess, yeah, it was some sort of form of mercy on the behalf of Kami. Is what basically Madara, surmises from all that. The conclusion he comes to. But there's something else. After everything that he's gone through, Madara ends up coming with the conclusion, another conclusion, that his way of going about, obtaining peace is kind of stupid. I mean, the idea that he wanted to achieve peace and all, that's good, because, peace is good. But the fact of, how he wished to obtain peace is not only bad, but it's stupid. And Madara, not being an idiot, doesn't need to end up around basically yeah, I was kind of. Plus, Madara would kind of be forcing people. And even at the end, he does indeed figure out that is the whole thing with Kaguya, instead of putting people in an endless, dreamlike state of, their favorite life, he was instead actually turning them into White Zetsu for her army. So yeah, he got freaking double played. Now Madara is just starting to feel all depressed. As Madara is like, oh, Izuna, if you could only see me now. Though I sense you're in the Pure Lands, unlike myself. Hmm. And then you just hear something. And he's like, wait, what is that? He's like, here's something. And then all of a sudden you would just see out of the corner of his eye, someone just coming through some sort of random ass portal. And he sees, Izuna. That can't be true. And he's like, well, if you're talking about me staying here, no, it is not true. Madara, brother. But if you're talking about me helping you with something, possibly giving you an actual way of obtaining true peace, even if it's through someone else, don't feel so bad about it. This way, you truly will be able to obtain the peace that you so wanted to achieve, alongside Shirama, whatever you two created originally. No, originally created the League as the two founders, two OG founders, basically, or I was murdered by Senju Tabirama. And by the way, thanks for kicking that guy's ass for me. Tensei or not, thanks for still kicking that guy's ass. Ah, I bet you can't even still believe how much Hashirama is giving Tobirama a hard time about that. How badly you just kicked his ass. And then Tobirama reminding him that he got his ass kicked by you too. And that you haven't managed to steal, his freaking chakra. Yeah, brothers, I guess, will be brothers. And it's the same for you and me. I wish to help you. I wish to help you. Peace. However, not in this world, for since the one Naruto Uzumaki is it, he is the one who will achieve peace in this world. The world of Shinobi. Currently, no. However, there is another one in which there's also a struggle to obtain peace. Not just that, not just to obtain, but to maintain peace. Once obtained. Uh, this world is a world of people who 80% of the population have these abilities called quirks. And Izuna basically just explains what quirks are like and how they came to be. And also explains, Madara basically wanting to know, well, who are the 20%? And basically Izuna's just like, you look all freaking depressed. He's just like, the 20% are those without quirks. And you would not believe how stupid these people are. How they treat those without these special abilities. All quirks. And in fact, there is indeed one of them. What he does not have in quirk, he has in something very special. Something I believe you remember very wholeheartedly. Power. Power that courses through us. From the time in which the senju and fruit of the divine tree being Kami herself. Idea of Otsuki. And basically Mamoru would be like, no freaking way. What's the situation then? Basically, Mamoru's like, okay, I'm in. What's the situation here? Who's the kid? And what's exactly going on? And basically, Izuna just gets, kind of in between depressed and interested in why Mamoru is so damn lenient. As indeed until he remembers, oh yeah, I'm dead. And technically, we can't really see each other all that often, considering I'm in the Pure Lands and he's not. He's stuck here. So probably that's why he would be more lenient. Well, at least one of the reasons. So anyways, regarding the whole situation with Boy, his name is Izuku Midoriya. And about the whole power, he has three types actually. And Mario would be like, three? Excuse you, three? And Izuna was like, don't act like you heard me wrong. You know what I said. Three types. Those being chakra, Biju chakra, and Sage chakra. Or what's more plainly known as natural chakra, nature chakra. It's also dubbed as basically the Sage chakra. And basically, basically being like, well, he doesn't just have chakra, he also has Biju chakra and freaking natural chakra. Holy shit, this kid is a gold mine. Not even a freaking gold mine, like a freaking platinum mine. I just be like, well, you said you had Biju chakra. Like, what kind of Biju? Like, what are we talking about here? And basically, Izuna will just be like, It just sounds stupid, but it might just make you even more interested. The Madabi. And Madara being like, excuse you, Madabi? And he was like, well, that's exactly what it seems to be calling itself now when deep within the recesses of the boy. Well, the seal isn't really all that visible, that's because there is no seal. And because of the fact that the boy has no real quirk, it seems to be causing unrest within the being inside of him. Hiju, the Madabi. It seems that Kami did more than just be a little bit lenient with you in the terms of limbo and your Eternal Monogekyo Sharingan and even your Rinnegan. That's including the chakra, other things that you gained from Hashirama during the whole terms of the Shinobi World War. Something very interesting. I don't know if you'll agree with me on this or not, but something very interesting. Even though there's no seal to protect the boy from the beast getting out and either him just dying right there and then, or being killed by the beast once it escapes. The Madabi is really only named that because, well, it's named after a certain someone who, after yet another sort of semi self fulfilling prophecy, no matter how you look at it, really, seems that it was indeed known that you would come to the conclusion that you would want to meet this boy. So, in a way, your power alone is, at least from what the boy seems to have managed to acquire from you without losing his mind, the Madabi. And Madara basically, wait, Madabi, my name is Madara. Oh, I'm the Madabi. Wait, does that mean this limbo is actually. And yes, he's basically, Izuku's just like, yes, technically you're inside the boy. Limbo created is merely your imprisonment inside of him. The lowest amount of security possible without you somehow escaping. You find that your form is changed to suit what exactly yourself as the Madabi will indeed have become. Saying that the person responsible for basically murdering the entire Uchiha clan, sans a few, had a thing for crows. I think you know where this is going. Or at least that's what would have been, as until it was remembered that well, I'd rather not explain much more, but safe to say, your special ability to create the Susanoo-clad Ninetales, indeed a fox. It's a sort of remembrance of those days. And Mother would just be like, oh, well, so they didn't really want to be all that much cheeky bastards, or at least Kami didn't. So they decided to scrap the crow idea and decided to go with my whole Susanoo-clad Ninetales. so they made me a freaking fox. Basically, Madara's like, okay, Zuna, how the hell do I figure out basically what I freaking look like? Like, Madara's like, he has no freaking patience for this matter. But he wants to freaking know, and now. Basically, there's like, whenever I'm done explaining, that will be a little bit more civilized. Or if you do obtain such thing. Basically, Madara would be like, okay, fine. But only because you're my brother. And Izuna was like, I knew you would say that. And Mark would just be like, damn it, Izuna. And Izuna would just kind of inwardly chuckle to himself. And then he's like, okay, you know, the boy, he's like a Midoriya situation now, exactly. Well, what the doctor, and he says this in air quotes, doctor, was able to find out about him, is that he did not have a quirk yet about the three energies flowing through him. However, I managed to keep the Biju energy, the Biju chakra, a secret for now, so you can't really seem to tell all that much of a difference. You cannot see the different colorization of him, the Biju chakra, which would be red. He only sees a mere gray color, so it's not like I'll pay much attention to that. And Mother's like, oh, well then, that's good, I guess. And he's just like, damn it, Madara. You gotta be so damn stubborn. He's just like, anyways. And he's just being like, well, and basically, after the doctor basically losing his head, thinking that he was going to get murdered by whoever his boss is coming to the conclusion that all he has to do is kill both the boy and his mother. Then again, it seems the doctor has a very scattered brain because he seems to have forgotten that he already did that on the part of the boy's mother. And basically, Mara's like, wait, bastard asshole freaking killed the kid's mother? And would you like to see the memories? Or both see and hear them? Your choice. And Mara's like, yes. I would like to know just how much I need to punish the asshole, the unholy asshole, or at least let Izuku to punish him once everything has finally been pulled together. And he's like, just like he has that look on his face, like this is not up for debate. Madara is not having this upbeat, like be up for freaking debate. He is going to do this. He is going to allow Izuku to have the power to do this. And even the knowledge that it has happened at all. Just to give Izuku the extra incentive to kill this asshole, this Dr. Ujiko mofo. And so, yeah, basically, Madara now knowing about everything that had happened, basically, Madara now knowing about the, normal chakra, the Biju chakra, basically being something from him being converted into Izuku's tail beast, and this sort of, because he kind of did steal Hashirama's, like, Sage chakra, basically natural chakra. Natural chakra. So eventually, after basically being given all the, tips that he's going to give without seeming like blatant favoritism towards his brother, after giving all the tips and, just being like, outie, Madara just being like, And don't worry, Izuna. I'm not going to go ahead and do that. I know just from what I was able to see, this world is different. These people, plus my way of doing things before, both times clouded by certain things. That means, yes, indeed, I do admit I was wrong. I have now decided that the way in which I will achieve peace will be curved around the desires of this child and their desires to achieve peace that I see within them. Basically saying that as technically the equivalent to Izuku's Biju, he is going to help Izuku achieve his own true peace for this world. In his own way, well, helping. But another final thing he asks, he's basically, how many tails? He's just like, how many tails? And Izuku would just have this look on his face like, should I tell him or not? He said I shouldn't let him have a big head. But, maybe this, seeing as we're brothers, we should probably not, hide anything. Fine, damn it, Madara, but only if you promise not to get a big old swole head. And I think you know exactly what I'm talking about. And Madara's just like, don't worry, just tell me. And basically, Izuna would just be like, fine, damn it. You know how Kaguya, at least for what you were able to see of her, whenever she became that rabbit form, had a total of 11 tails? Well, to compensate for all the arguing done between Kami and her brothers, it wasn't just an increase in one tail. Two tails increase, actually. Unlucky number 13, I guess you could say. Or lucky, in the case of whatever you plan to do with the boy. Izuku Midoriya. The still, I would like to call Madari Jinchuriki. Only he will not be a weapon used for war. Is that understood, brother? And Madara's like, understood before you even asked or said anything. I just looked, well, wait, 2 increase and 11. That plus 2, that 13, yes. Unlucky number 13 indeed. Unlucky for our enemies, being that boy. I will teach him well. He's teach him very well. To be learned in all 3 types of chakra that he has. The usual chakra, the natural chakra, and the Biju chakra. Which I'm sensing that he may even be able to access the Sharingan one day due to his connections with me. And that could be a possibility. And he's going to just give him that knowing look like, well, you're not wrong. And considering that Madara also has that, contained Hashirama cells, allowing him to still have his Rinnegan, he's not really going to voice it out to Izuna, but he's like, and maybe one day even soon achieve the Rinnegan. Then we will really be able to Ragnarok the friggin' house with anyone that dare try to stop us achieve peace. And basically, Madara in his head would just be like, oh yes, this is going to be interesting. Then Madabi Jinchuriki, Izuku Midoriya. Or seeing as he no longer has his brother, mother and seems his father, if fact, is not really around. Izuku Midoriya Uchiha. Yes, I like the sound of that. Anyways, he's gonna mm, just let me be. I wish to speak to the boy as soon as I get the chance. And he's gonna like, love you too, brother. Like, just like sarcastic as hell. Love you too, brother. Honor just be like, just giving him a look like, you know I love you back, man, but I gotta do this. Job comes first. In a world where basically my containment is limbo, since there's no real seal on him yet, job comes first, family comes later. Or never, possibly. If ever gonna forget seal. Until that, any option could be possibly dangerous for the kid. And myself. And Madara just thinking in his head, wait, that Naruto, he had a seal? And then Madara just envisions the seal Naruto had, the 8 tetragram seal. Basically, somehow, as soon as Madara begins to visualize it, it freaking happens. All of a sudden, basically, you hear Great God Gate out of freaking nowhere, and now there's indeed a singularity in between Kurama and Madara. They are both in a cage. But Madara doesn't really seem to mind, seeing it as his own limbo. So you can get used to this. He's like, it doesn't really bother him all that much. Because pretty much everything else is of his own creation. And well, he's the one who thought of it so that basically, if he has anyone to be mad to or mad about, it should probably, be himself. Unless he sounds like a hypocrite. He's gonna basically just be like, oh, well then. I mean, it wasn't wrong whenever she told me she was going to, blatant favoritism or not. It's just a matter of things I couldn't really assist him on. I didn't know whenever she said that she meant God gate, and even assistance with putting the seal on in the first place. Basically, in the MHA reality, or at least the outside world of the MHA reality, Izuku is like screaming in freaking pain because now he just feels like he just got smacked with freaking shit out of nowhere. He's like his insides are freaking boiling. That's what it feels like. And then basically he just kind of starts to calm down a little. I mean, his voice kind of reassuring that everything's going to be alright. And Madara finally, now as the seal's been put on and everything, finally getting into contact with Izuku, is able to see his form, basically looking like a freaking Shadow the Hedgehog version of the freaking Nine Tails. Only instead of 9 tails, it is indeed 13 tails. But he's still going to keep the name Madara because, that shit is awesome. And by Shadow the Hedgehog version of 9 tails, I basically mean, basically black and red. Color scheme. Because, Madara wears the red armor, and, there's all Uchiha has that freaking black hair. Black as hell eyes before they achieve the Sharingan. That's really all they freaking use. Yeah, at least that's the majority of the case, if not most of the case, but not all the case. All base, you're belong to us. So basically, that's the thing. Basically, 9 tails, but instead of 9 tails, it would be like 13 tails, count 13. And, basically, Shadow the Hedgehog that I created color scheme. Mostly black, but needs some red. And unlike Kurama's voice, was always like a rough voice. Basically, we kind of it wouldn't be like echoey because of the way things work, but it would basically stay the same as Madara's actual voice. So it wouldn't really sound all that deep and imposing unless like Madara wanted it to be deep and imposing. And right now, Madara is trying to help Izuku with this whole problem of the intense pain he's feeling right now. And so Madara's soothing words that basically everything's going to be okay. And basically, in order to kind of distract from the pain, he's basically asking Izuku questions, letting Izuku ask him questions back, just to distract from the pain. And even actually telling him what's going on. Basically, that a seal was created basically to hold him inside of him. This seal being called the 8 tetragram seal. And now, basically, because of this, Izuku will finally be able to draw from within everything, his 3 powers that he wasn't able to previously use before. The power of chakra, natural chakra / sage chakra, freaking Beta chakra. Which is basically what he is right now, Biju form. Since he has a human form, but, he's never really been in a sort of Biju form. I should count freaking Susanoo Glad Ninetales. But that wasn't really a form, that was more or less like a thing that he did. Anyways, he's never really felt like this, so he's wanted to see if he can get used to it. Basically, he calls himself, he says it'll be a while before he can really trust Izuku with knowing his actual name, because he basically tells Izuku that Bijus don't just go by the number of tails, they actually have names, but before he can actually truly get to trusting Izuku, he has to know, that he can trust Izuku. That what he was told by his brother, not even bothering to tell Izuku his brother's name. Basically, what he was told by his brother, to make sure that all of that is true, that he's not been hoodwinked. And so, basically, Madara is telling Izuku that it will be a while until, basically they can be on a basis. Like, he already knows his name, but Izuku does not know his, Madara's real name. He only knows him as what Madara has decided to call himself by now, just to keep Izuku from knowing before it is time, before he says it's time. That he believes that, Izuku has the right to know. And he basically just decides to refer himself basically as what he wanted to refer to himself as because he thought the name sounded badass. Madami. And that the Mada part is actually a play on his real name. And the B is actually a sort of tail thing because, that basically informs Izuku on how that happened and how that's going on. And now Izuku begins to understand. Basically, it's the whole tail thing. Wait, Izuku's counting and just he got 13. Basically, Madara's you can also know me as the 13-tailed fox. And that will help you better sleep at night or whatever. And basically, Izuku's just well, exactly what all happened and how do I get out of this? And basically, Madara would just be as the Madabi will just be like, leave that to me, kid. And basically reverse summons them to hell all the way back to what Mara knows to probably be Izuku's house. Probably. Or at least, well, that's what he initially thought, but then he started remembering, oh yeah, they probably got here via car. So yeah. Basically reverse summons him to the car with the keys and sort of a general understanding of how things work from, Izuku and his methodical mind watching Enko do it before, his mama. Madara basically has to sadly tell him that basically Enko is dead. And it's because of that doctor guy that is basically going to kill him next. If he doesn't actually believe him, he can show him in order to verify it. And basically, Izuku actually says that he doesn't need to because, if they're to trust each other in order to be able to learn each other's names, in order to be able to trust each other enough to, bond, he shouldn't have to. And Madara was like, well, this actually specifically makes him want to because, this kid is being so damn nice. And, now Madara feels like he definitely needs to know. So Izuku just allows to know exactly what happened. And Izuku's just like, thanks, Madabi. And, you know, basically Madara knowing that he is basically a fox now, is like, don't worry about it, kid. We'll be fine. And Izuku be like, well, there's these things on my face. 3 each, 3 on both sides. What are these supposed to be? And then, like, Madara would be like, kid, you ever look in a damn mirror? And, Izuku would just blow on up and be like, whiskers? And Madara would be like, kid, you are too damn loud. And Izuku's like, sorry. And, Madara would be like, kind of try to talk to me in your head, If people hear you talking to yourself, or at least what they think talking to yourself, and they're going to think you're cray-cray. And basically, Izuku's like, why didn't I think about that before? I'm so stupid. 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 And then Madara would just be like, can't stop that. It hurts. Whatever you feel, I feel. And Izuku's just like, sorry. Like, sorry, sorry, Madabi. And Madara would basically just be like, it's fine, kid. Now just let me freaking sleep. Got a lot to cover whenever you get home. Or rather, I'd say, we get home. So just let me freaking sleep. Don't bother me until we get home. And basically, that's what happens. Izuku gets into his house. Basically, how about the key out of the mat? And well, Izuku, 5-year-old Izuku, barely able to freaking control the car, but somehow will still do it. He's kind of questioning on all the idea of that, but then he starts to think and is like, it's probably due to Madabi somehow allowing me to be able to control whatever I couldn't be able to touch naturally. And then basically, Madara kind of slightly quirks an eye open and is like, how the hell did you figure that out so damn fast, kid? And he's just like, Madabi, you're awake. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to. And I was like, Madabi's just like, Madara would just be like, kid, it's fine. Here, aren't we? Or did you just start to freaking break in and entering? I can tell from the expression on your face it's not true. You're not the kind of person to do that. Basically, Izuku would be like, well, yes, this is my house. I guess it would be my house now. No, not Mom's house. But she isn't alive anymore. And, you know, Madara would just be like, yeah, you gotta stop worrying about things in the past. It'll never get better. Things will never get better if you don't stop, worrying about all that shit in the past. However, in order to ensure that you, as my container, are not weak as shit and are able to utilize your abilities several times fold, I have created a correct curriculum for the likes of you. Even to the point where you might actually be able to surprise that kid on who calls themselves Katsuki. Yes, it's time. Now, kid, get to your freaking stations. And he's gonna be like, where are my stations? And Mario would just be like, ah, damn it. Kid, go to your room. And Izuku's like, well, that's all you really need. And then Mario would just be like, kid, go to your room. And basically Naruto would be like, but Izuku would be like, okay. And basically, you know, Mario being like, kid, you can never be too careful. Make sure all the windows are closed, all the blinds are closed, windows closed, blinds down, lights off, door closed and locked. In fact, you should probably also do that for the front and back doors. To make sure no one figures out about this that we don't want to figure out. And basically, he's being like, wow, Madabi-sama, you're very, very specific with what you want and don't want. And Madara would be like, wait, Madabi-sama? Um, please never do that again. Madabi is fine. I really don't care for the formalities. Though, it is awfully nice of you. I'll admit that. And basically, he was like, well, also, one thing I want to say before we begin, can't just live out here on my own. I mean, technically, I'm not alone. I have you here, but I expect that that's probably one of the things we don't want other people to find out until we want them to. And we'd be like, good, kid. At least you know that. And it would be like, well, then what exactly are you getting at, kid? And, Izuku would just be like, well, I heard about these heroes. They've made like their whole entire team. They're called the Wild Wild Pussycats. Basically, Mater has to struggle from freaking cringe laughing. Laughing and cringing at the same time about the freaking name. But like, apparently, because like of the authority Izuku used in his voice when we're mentioning them, apparently they're supposed to be actual, real good heroes. So, you know, basically, Madara being like, we'll deal with that road whenever we come to that road. Basically, we'll deal with that whenever we get to that. So basically, what Izuku gets trained in first is basically physical conditioning. Because if he's learn how to wield these powers, he has to be physically conditioned enough to be able to, actually use them. So basically, physical conditioning, a couple rounds of that. And then after that, a couple rounds of basically learning about, chakra, what it is, what it can do, what it can't do, the ins and outs of chakra, basically learning everything that he can in a relative amount of time about chakra. And basically, the lowdown being that it is the spiritual and physical part of the body that fuels and creates a chakra within in order to be used for the different jutsu like taijutsu, genjutsu, ninjutsu, kenjutsu, funinjutsu, and senjutsu. There's all these different kinds of freaking jutsu, and even the forbidden ones, also known as kinjutsu. You know, ken and kin. Basically, kenjutsu, the art of the sword, kenjutsu, the art of the forbidden jutsu. In fact, something that will indeed help with, well, not exactly the physical conditioning of learning certain skills, but it will indeed help with the mental conditioning. Is indeed something that Madara wants to basically get Izuku to learn, seeing as how much ridiculous amounts of chakra. Apparently, Izuku already had four, three different types, pumped through him like a freaking steroids freaking pill, a day, all day, every day, all day, every day. So, yeah, basically, Izuku basically being told that the taijutsu is the art of hand-to-hand combat, styles, many different styles of taijutsu. And that genjutsu is basically the art of the illusion, and that something that he might actually have that they don't exactly know about that yet, but maybe they one day will actually figure out about yet. We need help him with even better versions of specific genjutsu, or even just better genjutsu in general. But genjutsu just overall is more or less the art of the illusion. And however the creative of the mind is, and however good the chakra control of the certain person is dependent on basically like the type of jutsu genjutsu will be cast. And also it'll depend on making sure the person who's getting the genjutsu cast on them doesn't figure out that it's a fake. And so basically after that there's go ninjutsu. Basically for ninjutsu, basically it's explained all of the five different elements and the sub elements. But generally the five elements being fire, water, lightning, earth, wind. Wind being the most destructive out of all the five. And that seeing as he's activating his body, and he himself, Madara himself, actually does have a good affinity for the fire element. If Izuku actually already has an affinity, he will also probably have a very good affinity for whatever Madara has an affinity for, which is indeed, like most or all Uchihas, fire. And so basically, they do the chakra paper test, Madara explaining that if the affinity is fire, the paper will basically burn up. If the affinity is lightning, the paper will crinkle. If the affinity is water, the paper will get soggy. If the affinity is wind, the paper will, get cut up. And if the affinity is earth, then basically the paper will turn into dust. So basically, Izuku, pours what he can of his chakra into the paper. And what happens is definitely indeed interesting. Because, first of all, basically, the paper gets cut up into several different pieces. The first piece gets soggy. Second piece burns. The third piece turns into dust. The fourth piece turns basically. Yes. They get cut up into multiple pieces, basically four pieces. First piece burns, second piece soggy, third piece crinkles, and the fourth piece turns into dust. And some of them even start to mold into each other the more Izuku focuses his chakra. This actually telling Madara that not only does he have all of the five are now original, mostly, considered nature chakra things, all five of the elements, all of them like a decent affinity, at least a decent affinity for all of them. But this also tells him that may even have some way to, sub elements like Hyoten, Yoden, like Hyoten, Yoden, and others. I forgot names. Basically, you get the idea. Basically, Mizuku is rich within ninjutsu prowess, pretty much already. Madara decides that whenever it comes to the ninjutsu portion, the first thing he will do is teach him a jutsu of each type of affinity. Basically, wind, earth, water, fire, lightning. But he decides to teach Izuku one of those different affinity jutsus. Each one, fire jutsu being the traditional Uchiha Great Fireball, water jutsu being the water wall, which Tobirama was so used to freaking messing up people. Technically, the one Earth jutsu that Madara is planning to teach, basically Izuku, he decides that he would like to teach him a different one, not the water wall, but the water dragon. Now, actually thinks the water dragon might actually be a little bit extreme, so instead he decides basically enter a fire jutsu, great fireball, water jutsu, water prison. It's the water prison. And in terms of lightning jutsu, he will teach him the false darkness. And in terms of earth jutsu, he will teach him the mud wall. And in terms of wind jutsu, he will teach him the Kamedachi, or Kamadachi, however that was pronounced. This fire, fireball, water, water prison, fire, great fireball, water, water prison, lightning, false darkness, earth, mud wall, and wind, Kamedachi, no jutsu. Basically, sickle weasel. And basically, the sickle weasel jutsu, the Kamedachi, no jutsu. And surprisingly, not too surprising because, Madara already knows some stuff about Izuku. In his mind, he gets this stuff down pat pretty damn fast. And actually, whenever it comes to taijutsu, Izuku, Madara decides that if he's going to be his container, he's going to teach him, regardless of how ridiculous the teaching is. He basically taught him in terms of ninjutsu, one jutsu out of each freaking like affinity. Great fireball, water freaking prison, false darkness, mud wall, and the sickle weasel slash Komedachi jutsu. Five jutsu for each affinity, like one jutsu for each affinity. And so for his taijutsu training, he basically decided, he's gonna put some, do this handsome, basically to put some restriction and gravity seals basically on Izuku's body that will basically help with what he plans to do. Because for me, as a squabble with my guy, you kind of learn about some stuff. And basically, what he decides to do is basically train Izuku in that kind of way. The gates. And basically, for now, seeing as Izuku's body is only so damn big, he decides to only train him up into the second gate and like half of the portion of the third gate. So basically, barely able to use like zilch of the third gate, but wherever it comes up to the first and second gate, it's pretty good. So yeah, any bit of the eight gates is still devastating, though. And in terms of genjutsu training, genjutsu training is freaking ridiculous. In terms of genjutsu that he automatically learns right away, one of them is indeed Kurna's genjutsu, where she like freaking wraps the person in the tree, then comes out of the tree, and freaking Kuna like, slits their throat. Yeah, that's one of the automatic ones that he learns. Others like some sort of Sakura rose petal genjutsu, and like jutsu again, jutsu that make your voice freaking appear at like every freaking direction without you actually being able to be seen. Yeah, basically some pretty weak sauce genjutsu, or at least weak sauce like like basically considering whoever maybe thinking. Definitely one of the jutsu that genjutsus that Mama teach automatically would be that specific genjutsu, because Kurenai is basically considered genjutsu mistress of the leaf. So yeah, that genjutsu would be useful. Just pop out of the freaking tree above them. Like, then there's a whole problem with ninja weapons in general and how to freaking make the damn things. Since this place is basically around the year 3000, I don't think they're gonna be making those things all that casually anymore, or if at all. And so yeah, that happens. And something like Kenjutsu. He actually, from the time in which, Konoha was like friends with Whirlpool, they know about some of their Kenjutsu specialists. This is sort of like a Whirlpool like style, like freaking Kenjutsu style that Madara kind of picked up on and thought it would be nice to Izuku, learn it. And, well, there's a food jutsu. Gotta dig real down deep for that one. One of the easiest ones for Izuku to be able to, work with is indeed the paper bomb. And even some stuff in dealing with summoning. A possible summoning animal, a possible summoning contract. Well, considering, Madara, considering himself, Madabi, 13-tailed fox, the unlucky number 13 tailed fox. It's basically the name. The unlucky number 13 tailed fox. The Madabi. Basically, considering him that, basically, why not basically have his summoning clan be the clan of his freaking, you know what? Freaking Biju. So, basically, he's a fox. Izuku's thinking, it would be pretty cool to have, that. And then, Madara is also thinking, the possibility. Seeing as he was kind of denied the whole crow motif, and Madara is like kind of half grateful and kind of half not grateful for that. Have this kind of be more like a thing in between the Biju and the jailer, but also have kind of like a second summoning contract, if possible, for the crows. And this is indeed possible, but it does have to deal with some tweaking around with the seal. But in the end, it just ends up working out the same. But now Izuku has two summoning contracts, one that draws from the Biju and one that draws from his regular ability of Chakra itself. And both can actually interconnect with the, natural chakra because they are indeed still, natural freaking chakra beings, nature chakra beings. Summoning. So you could still probably learn of their specific, stage modes. And with this, two different summoning contracts, basically, it makes Izuku very learned and very fast. And the whole thing with Kenjutsu, the art of the forbidden jutsus. Basically, Madara decides he's not going to be a slouch on Izuku whenever it comes to this. He's gonna have him perfectly, let him in on the Kenjutsu business. Which Kenjutsu is Izuku going to learn about? First of all, to make training faster and easier, in a way. Basically says is basically still going to, basically in order to make this, compensate for the easier training method, double the freaking workload, if not triple or quadruple the freaking workload whenever it comes to training. And Izuku won't think that's fair. But he's like, what exactly is this jutsu that's going to help? This keen jutsu that's going to help. And basically Madara's like, this Ajoke Bojin no Jutsu? Basically, multi-shadow jutsu. So, yeah, basically. Izuku, with his big brain, is indeed learn about how to basically perform the Ajoke Bojin no Jutsu. And also some other shit he learns up on. Two other specific forbidden jutsus. Well, okay, three, four specific forbidden jutsus. Some of these jutsus should be forbidden, but don't necessarily know. But two that are already definitely known to probably mostly be forbidden, and they should be, are the freaking okay, five. Because of the whole thing with Mara being like could possibly obtain the Renegon. So five forbidden jutsu after the Chachoke of Jutsu. Technically, I've already known six forbidden jutsu. Like, holy shit. Basically, the two that I'm basically sure that probably already should be known as forbidden jutsu, being the Edo Tensei and the Dead Demon Consumancy, like basically the Shikifumen. Basically, not really going to actually try this out because, that would basically kill Naruto, the Shikifumen, Dead Demon Consuming Seal. And so, but basically, it's already, known very well and good in practice. So that's basically where Izuku stands with the Shikifumen. And on the Edo Tensei, on the Edo Tensei side of things, basically, that's also in practice because technically you need a human sacrifice in order for each, body. Or like, that's just, whenever you're starting out initially. Soon enough, you can get up to multiple bodies without necessarily needing all that much. But, that's not being said. That's being said. Just for Izuku to know them if need be. And the other jutsus, one of those being the Rene Rebirth, for if not basically Izuku, yeah, he possibly ever get them the Renegon, a good thing, Rene Rebirth. And basically, Izuku actually does end up doing this, and Madara's like, what are you doing? I was like, Izuku's like, what do you think I'm doing? I was like, Rene Rebirth. And he's like, and Madara starts to feel weird. And he's just like, I'm helping you. I mean, honestly, you seemed a little bit dead at first, so I was thinking maybe this could help you. I mean, it described to me how basically it works, what it does. And seeing as we're tied to each other, it seems to not really be reacting the same way it would if I was, using it for a different being or myself directly. And Madara's like, oh my god, kid, you are a genius. Basically, he used the Rene Rebirth on Madara, basically regaining all of his stats back to max. Like, you got mods, you got cheats. Madara is back in business. And now that he is in a freaking tail beast, I think we split the unlucky number 13 tail beast, the Madabi. And now that basically Izuku is the unlucky number 13 tail beast, the Madabi Jinchuriki. Yeah, basically, now that Madara is basically getting full back to stat because of the Rene Rebirth, yeah, this is basically Madara's thinking, if there's no other reason why I should actually tell the kid my real name, except for that, well, he just finally decides to end up basically, because of what, Izuku did for him. So he actually, like, Izuku, come inside the seal. Like, Kit, come inside the seal. He usually don't call him Kit. And basically, whenever Izuku comes into the seal, he basically sees behind the bars, behind the Great God Gate, he sees a human form wearing red armor and wearing long black hair, and their eyes are no longer Edo Tensei eyes. They still have a very black, cold, demanding stare about them with authorization written all over it. Yeah, be like a big old boss man. And basically, Mario's like, Kit, you like what you see? And Izuku was just like, uh, wait, what's going on? And Madara is basically like just being, this is my mortal form. I am the one you previously knew as the Madabi. Or Madabi. My true name, Madara. Yeah. But you could simply call me Madara. All these people know nothing about my name. So, really, it would be, right? Except for what it would mean normally to mention someone's name. Without any of the previous thought that I had, for those that actually know. Basically, Mara was saying, it's okay, no real past history here, so I'm fine. And so basically, he takes and says, your name is Madara. Well, Madara, I'm glad that you trust me enough to allow me to know your name. But what does that really mean for us? And basically, Madara was like, we'll see. Yet. And Izuku's just like, okay, but one thing I want to know, are you okay with this form, or do you desire to turn back into the Madabi form again? Like, ever. Because, to be truthful with you, for how menacing you look, you also look pretty cute in that form. And Madara would be like, okay, not telling the kid, but that actually is kind of sounding cool. No, Madara has never really been called cute before, and it's sounding, appealing. But, just having his container call him cute, in that form, is really like, Madara's like, okay, maybe, wouldn't be so bad to be in that form. If he keeps on getting called cute, because, for some reason it doesn't seem to bother Madara all that much. With his, container calling him cute, maybe if it was someone else, probably if it was someone else, it would bother him, but for some reason his container calling him cute doesn't really seem to bother him. And, Madara's like, I'll think about it. Okay, kids, I'll think about it. And so basically, Izuku walking in towards the cage, basically, honestly, he's actually able to walk straight through. And that before he actually went into the cage, he saw that basically all the way up there was a paper with a kanji for seal on it. Madara doesn't really seem to have any desire for the seal to be ripped off because, he kind of, wanted this in a way. So he kind of really doesn't all care about that all that much. And so basically, he was like, okay, what exactly are we doing here? Basically, Madara is just like, shake my hand. And he was like, okay. Basically, whenever they would get close, Madara would kind of like close his hand and then like with a little finger start to close Izuku's hand. And before Izuku would know it, he would be fist bumping Madara. Fist bump. And all of a sudden, there would just be this feeling coursing through Izuku, but all of a sudden, as soon as the pain came, it would go away. Instead of rejecting Izuku. They had basically now just became on good terms with each other, you know. Container on good terms with Biju, and thus obtaining the chakra mode of the unlucky number 13 tailed Biju, the Madabi. And over the years, well, Izuku starts thinking about seeing, you know, Bakugo less and less, and really is like what would he really want to do with his life? I mean, the hero thing seems less appealing each day that he goes by living. And seeing that some of the things that heroes are able to get away with doing, you know, he really doesn't like. He's really starting to not like the idea. He wants, just like how Madara wants, to find peace in his own way. And you know, Madara just thinking, yeah, and the cage just thinking, yeah, I knew something about this kid was a good idea. And I was like, Kit, can you hear me? And Izuku was like, really? Really, Madara? Don't ask stupid questions. I can always hear you. And Madara being like, oh, you could always hear me? And Izuku was like, yep. Look how you can always hear me. And vice versa and all that shit. And Madara's just like, okay then. Well, anyways, Kit, I agree with you. This world does need a good old kick in the ass. Or several. Yeah, definitely several. Good old kicks in the ass. From its own personal Madabi Jinchuriki. And by now, you know, Madara decided to go back into his fox form because, you know, he liked the fact that he was called cute. You know, which isn't exactly something you could always say about Madara whenever he was originally alive. You know, the fact that he liked being called cute because he really was not into that. But now it just feels right. And so, yeah, for right about now, you know, for a few recent days, he has been in the fox form. And he actually seems that, you know, he relatively likes it there. Just the right size to accommodate him. In either form. Though he doesn't admit in this much bigger fox form, and the whole cage thing seems less hollow. And so, it happens. Basically, who decides that he's going to do something about this, but he's going to have to play his cards right. And, well, just walking this path, just walking it, he knows he's going to get into some interesting stuff. One of those first interesting stuff being, well, He's basically going to be leaving to, travel, in his own way. Travel the world to learn at least travel what he does know of the world. To learn the, truths and falsities of the world. The sins and virtues committed upon the world. And in order to do so, he's going to have to travel. So, and Izuku's ready to fight if he has to. Or to sell things with people that want to get in his way. As the Madabi Jinchuriki, he is ready to swap some friggin' hands. There's something he just stopped learning. He's been learning and more. He's been learning and then some. And basically, one, lonely night, whenever, you know, Izuku would just be frequenting, several different places. One of these places just being a random mom and pop store. You just get in, get your stuff, either eat in or go out with your stuff. One of the relative mom and pop places, friendly, but, just friendly, good old place to just stop by every once in a while. And as he would be leaving, you would hear someone basically crying, and it sounded like they were also in pain. And basically, Madara, Madara would be like, do it. They would just automatically know what Izuku was contemplating and be like, do it. If we're going to change the world, we got to do it. And Izuku's like, yeah, it would be nice to have some amount of friends, or at least be able to show the world that we do care about changing for the better. And basically, whenever Izuku gets around to hear the noise, basically sees someone who looks like they're freaking dying. Because you see, around the time that Izuku's been traveling with Madara, basically, he has made it to freaking a place I find it strange the name of Gotham. But he decides not to really question all that much. And that is until basically we come upon this scene. And basically Izuku will be like, oh man, whenever they said this place was a breeding ground for all sorts of different types of crimes, they surely didn't mean it, Madara. And Madara would just be like, no shit, Izuku. No shit. Now, get the girl so we can find a way to get her to safety and somehow know what I'm talking about. And Izuku's like, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Mystical palm technique up in his house. Yes, Izuku ended up learning the mystical palm technique to be able to basically heal someone. And so, basically, medic nin type stuff. Poisons, antidote for poisons, special stuff, scalpels, alkalins, what you need to use. And even, like I said before, the mystical palm technique. And so basically, this person just seems to be way too in like some sort of sense of like absolute delirium to actually know what the hell's going on. And so Izuku finds it relatively easy to just pick them up and take them with them. The little place that they've been using as a relative home for their stay in Gotham. However, whenever they basically return, they see that the place is basically being taken over by someone who wanted to acquire some land. That person being, you know him, you love him, well, yeah, they love him or hate him. He was played by Burgess Meredith in the cartoon, like the old cartoon. That wasn't really a cartoon, it was more or less whatever he was, and he plays by Burgess Meredith, the Penguin. Yes, the Penguin decided he wanted to freaking, you know, mess with Izuku on a not so happy day. You know, basically Izuku be like, "Hold on, lady, I gotta reaccure some of my, basically all of my property that has been basically stolen from underneath me in my absence." I can tell that, I'm sure. And basically, all the Penguin's goons will just go after Izuku, and Izuku would basically just be like, "You poor false. You poor fool. Tsukiyomi." And then basically they would all just drop, like, dead from the mental torture. Because Penguin only lived 2 to 3 seconds. But in the Tsukiyomi world in which Izuku put them in, which basically was the equivalent of, like, medieval, like, Salem witch trials torture, what he decided to dream up to them to go through. Basically, he made, like, not just 72 hours, but, like, freaking, God knows how long, 372 hours. And made those 372 hours as long as he freaking wanted them to be. Because he was not having it. He was not being happy. Stole freaking this shit being stole while he was gone. And, saving this lady. So yeah, a total of 372 hours going through freaking medieval freaking Salem witch trial bullshit. Yeah, these guys just dropped out of freaking medieval freaking torture of the mind and freaking, just screwy Tsukiyomi world. They just drop dead. And drop dead as hell. And, hell frozen over pretty much. And don't even get me started about social figures Mr. Freeze. Batman and Robin. Basically, like, Penguin would basically just try to start swapping hands with Izuku, and basically, Izuku would be like, basically, it's just like, you might want to, drop back before I start to get serious with you, whatever the frick your name is. And, Penguin just like, "Oh, what are you going to do?" And basically, Izuku's like, last hand sign, "Water wall!" And Penguin just gets shot out of the glass freaking window, the water wall. Just like, swoosh! And he gets shot out of the freaking air. Basically, landing at the Batwing, on the Batwing, on top of it. As freaking Batman and Robin are doing their patrols around certain countries that they do certain times. Basically, all of a sudden, they basically hear and see Penguin land on the top of the Batwing from God knows how tall. So, yeah. Basically, this kind of been sending a message. Yeah, don't mess with Izuku freaking Midoriya Uchiha. Because even Izuku's taking a liking to that name. Uchiha. And he's decided that he's going to start up his own little family. A Uchiha clan, in a sense. And basically, this woman, as soon as they wake up, But basically continues to be in sort of a semi-delirium state. But start to wash their head free of everything. Basically, now knowing that everything that basically they have ever lived, ever known, is a lie. Basically, after what happened with the one they called Mr. J. Is this right? Harley in the house. Harlequin. And so basically, a person does indeed introduce herself as indeed Harley Quinn. And I am indeed going to try to use like some sort of Batman the animated series version of her Suicide Squad attire and design. Basically, like, and, because My Hero Academia is indeed anime. So it's sort of like, you know, Batman the animated series style, like, freaking design of what she kind of looked like in the Suicide Squad. And, well, basically, Harley just starts to break down in front of Izuku. And he's just like, shh, shh, it's okay, it's okay. It's fine. Batman won't hurt you ever again. And, Harley basically just be like, how can you ever ensure that? And Izuku would just be like, because me and my friend, we won't let it happen. And, Harley just looking around like, what are you talking about? And he's just like, let's just say, he just whispers into Harley's ear everything. And like, Harley just be like, what? And then Izuku's like, look into my eyes, Harley. If that is your real name. Basically, he would just say, Tsukiyomi. This Tsukiyomi would be like a thing to where you could like test, you know, everything in order to figure out the stuff that he needed to know. And basically, once the whole Tsukiyomi thing had ended, and Harley were to come out of that, and both Izuku and Harley came out of that. And Harley, after this, would indeed know pretty much everything that Izuku wanted her to know about Madara. But he would still technically stick with the name. Don't really say the name Madara out loud. Stick with calling him the Madami. And Harley isn't really gonna question the person who freaking saved her, ending up basically just dying. At the hands of her own Mr. J. And when she decides to basically that she never wants to call him that ever again. Not even on his deathbed. Yeah. You can tell Harley is pissed. And basically, Izuku, after getting to know Harley well enough, decides, to pop the question. Would you like to join my clan? My Uchiha clan? And basically, after enough, coaxing around, and, basically, Harley eventually does decide that, Izuku is indeed a nice person, and indeed this Wadabi doesn't need him to be like a nice, thing, whatever the hell is actually going on here. So, she willingly decides to, she's not being brainwashed into it like how Joker did her. She's willingly actually deciding to become a member of Izuku's newly founded, well, Izuku and Madara's newly founded Uchiha clan. New Uchiha clan. Basically, with Izuku as the Madabi Jinchuriki and Harley, two of them basically being considered the founders of the new clan. And Harley even actually does indeed start to realize that Izuku just did that whole thing like he was some sort of superhero that's shooting the water out of his mouth. And Izuku's like, if we get to a place where not many will let notice us, maybe I can even show you more. As if you're willing to, zip. And Harley would just be like, zip. And basically Izuku would just be like, some of the other, Kinjutsus he learned, those being the Rasengan and the Haraishin. And that's right, both. So basically, Haraishin freaking Flash, all the way to an abandoned area in, around the outskirts of Gotham that Izuku doesn't even know about after all the time he spent there already. Knowing that no one would even dare to be stupid enough to go there. So, yeah. Izuku just decides this place would be perfect. And he even has some similarities to Nebula Beach. And in regards to trash being freaking everywhere. And basically, Izuku decides to go basically over the bare minimum basics in terms of ninjutsu. Basically, Izuku would be like, what you already saw. Water wall! That is the water wall. As for the others, Great Fireball! And then like the freaking steam would just gather up from the water, fire collecting together. And then after the whole steam was cleared, Harley would begin to start seeing more. Because like Izuku had mentioned that out of these different elements, the base ones, basically there are three more that they still have to go through. The basic ones that he learned originally. Because he knows more now, but these were the originally the ones that he learned first. Basically, he'd be like, and for Earth, we have. As it would just build up. Just like basically, what he spilled onto the ground from his mouth would just build up. Basically, freaking wall. Basically, it'd be like Earth style mud wall. And basically, as the mud wall would start to recede, you would finally start to be like, now for the last two. Lightning. Now, you see it? Now? Lightning style, fast darkness. Just shoot at something, and Harley was actually kind of like mesmerized by the lightning style false darkness jutsu. Then finally, the last one, like, Harley would be mesmerized because if there's another one after that, like, oh. The guy she's following is a pretty big badass. Basically, it was like, took you that long to notice. Okay. Huh? It would just pop out a little war fan like thingy. Just be like, just like, ah, like blood over the fan. And this would hardly be like, what in the world? And then a weasel would pop out like, poof. Just be a little weasel thing. And just be like, wind style, committed to jutsu. You know, like the windsicle weasel thing. Jutsu. But it would just call it Kamadachi or Kamadachi. Kamadachi Jutsu, basically. Like, whoosh. And then, like, basically everything nearby all of the like trash would just be completely obliterated by the giant wind force of the Komeiji, and just being like Harley would just barely be able to freaking stay on the little thing that she was on, and she would actually start to fly away, and just like Izuku would just like should over there and grab her in his arms, and as they were about to fall down, Izuku would activate a separate hydration formula, and basically they would pop back to where they originally were. You know, Izuku's pad. And so basically Izuku would be like, "Well, Harley, you have a problem with leaving this place?" And Harley would be like, "Leaving Gotham? Well, why?" And Izuku would be like, "Well, this place seems to reek of the smell of scum. Worst of the worst. Scum. It reeks and it's so damn bad. I think I might need a nose plug." And Mada agrees with me. And, well, Harley's just like, "Well, you're not exactly wrong. Whenever I was with Joker, mm, yeah, you could definitely say I saw the worst of the worst." And basically, Izuku would be like, "Joker, eh? And just another reason why we don't willing to stay around. The Uchiha clan need to stick together. And we need to stay strong while we do that. We can if we're in an area where everything's being suppressed by the filth that live there alongside underneath their noses." So, my first official order as the head of the Uchiha clan, alongside my Biju, the Madabi, my first official order, get the hell out of here after preparing for what would probably be a long ass trip. And, well, Harley was like, Harley would basically be like, "I was with you as soon as you said we get the hell out of here." Basically, she would already have everything packed in her basically. She would even have a suitcase, a leather freaking suitcase, and everything would be freaking packed. She would actually have multiple. And he's going to be like, "Well, at least the one was prepared." Mm. And now there's a whole thing to deal with the branding seal, and you're a true member. And, Harley's not stupid. She would have overheard that and be like, "Branding seal?" And he's going to be like, "Oh yeah, the branding seal of the Uchiha clan. It shouldn't hurt too bad. Unless it wouldn't feel as bad as the 8 pentagram seal. That's put on me. And Madabi." And I'm basically like, yeah, Harley wouldn't be looking like she was feeling too good, but she would be like, "It's fine, it's nothing. Nothing that I haven't even dealt with Joker." And Izuku just hearing that would be like, "Then he really doesn't deserve you." Usually that would probably sting like hell, and I would really be up against you, screaming like a banshee because of it. It's really that bad in between the two of you, that bad history. He really doesn't deserve you. Vroom, vroom. And basically, Harley would be like, "Oh, you little flirter. How'd you learn about that?" And he's would be like, "Are you kidding me, Harley? I've been doing that ever since we got here." Teasing you with that. Literally, how desperate can someone get? And then I guess it really isn't your fault. Dude played you like a fiddle. Ah, if he wasn't already dead, I'd kill him myself. That is, unless you wanted to protest. Kill him yourself. But last time you got anywhere near that guy, I couldn't tell you that it really didn't end all that well. And Holly's basically like, yeah, you're right. It's best we leave wherever the hell Joker's buried alone and stay far away. Never ever come again any other day. And basically, Izuku would just be like, yeah, literally. I'm like, I'm done. And basically, Harley would be like, what do you mean you're done? Nothing. And then Izuku would just show the ceiling tattoos. Be like, leave? Ninjutsu. Ceiling tattoos. Ceiling rays on my body. Once I cross my blood over them, basically, the stuff will be sent out. I was able to fit everything in. And Harley's just like, wow, boss, you're really cool. And Izuku will be like, Harley, how many times did I tell you, stop calling me boss? Literally, you're on a seat equal to me. We're both founders of this new studio clan. Or as I like to call it, the Neo Uchiha. We're both founders of equal merit, considering the importance of creating the new Uchiha clan. Neo Uchiha. You may not believe me now, but I can tell you it's true. It matter a lot to me. Over these past few, however long it's been, I've come to care about you a lot. And that's why we need to leave Gotham. There are people here that knew about our connections. Not telling what they would actually do to try to get to me. And I was like, well, then again, you really aren't wrong. And basically, exactly why we need to leave. Basically, follow my narration formula. And basically, the place where they would pop up is basically like, whoa, I can't believe it. How many different places do you have these Harrison formula thingies on? And Izuku was basically just like, well, Madabi did need help me with transporting all of them, get them where they need to get to. We were going to be successful. Or at least me and him be successful. I don't really plan to ever meet you. It just happened. And basically, yeah, they would just be like, oh my god, this is Metropolis. And it was just like, yep, Metropolis. And so we just be like, oh, I'm a Lex Luthor and Clark, aka currently Superman, from what I've heard. Yeah, the glasses really aren't all that good in disguising. Thinks they are, but they aren't. These eyes can see everything. Basically, Izuku would just pop up his EMS, which would be the same as freaking Madara's EMS. And Madara can feel it. Izuku's on the cusp of getting to that Rinnegan goodness. Plus, he's already used one of the Rinnegan techniques, the Riddle Rebirth, to restore him back to his power of, his prime, pinnacle peak performance. And so, yeah. And, basically the fact that Izuku already knows about the fact that Clark Kent is Superman Clark Kent. Basically, epic fail on Superman's part. He wasn't even able to keep his identity secret for 1 second. from away from Izuku's eyes. And yeah, and whole thing with Lex Luthor. Oh boy, whole thing about that. Basically, all of a sudden they just run into someone, and basically, Harley, be like, "Watch out, buddy." And the other person will be like, "We're not buddies, and I don't care. That girl was in the way." And he's over to like, "Dude, you have anger issues. Besides, she wasn't in the way. You just bumped into her at a random, asshole." And then the person will just be like, "Asshole, you want to rephrase that?" And then their eyes will start to glow, and he's gonna be like, "No, I don't want to rephrase that." Then he would start to get in his cold and calculating Madara voice, and somehow he'll be like, "Uh-oh, looks like you did a bad, Superboy." He never uses that tone unless he's really mad at somebody. My Mr. I. And, this person who is indeed confirmed to be Superboy, Superboy Prime, Superboy, he's just like, "Mr. I." And he's gonna be like, "Oh my god, Harley. Never mind. Yeah. You bumped into a little Harley. Now you're gonna have to pay the price. Unless you wanna make up a nice, quick, and easy, good old fashioned apology and see if it's good enough for me to spare your ass paying it like a mother." And Superboy would just be like, "Oh, I'm gonna kick your ass." And he's gonna be like, "Bet." And Superboy would just go straight towards Izuku and be like, his Sharingan would be able to perceive Superboy, and not only that, but the physical conditioning would basically make it to where no matter what Superboy tried to do, he would not be able to win a fist fight with Izuku. In fact, it would be the man. Mm, basically, mm, with a Superboy basically trying to basically punch lights out of Naruto. Not Naruto. Izuku. Basically, out of Izuku. He's trying to allow him to perceive the things, and the physical conditioning would allow him to actually, successfully be able to dodge. And even redirect so that whenever Silverboard did hit something, and finally, whenever Superboy basically has exhausted himself, basically, right before Superboy hits the ground, Izuku will just be like, he'll be like, "Sukiyami." Just, and basically, he would have put Superboy in Tsukiyomi, whereas he was about to fall unconscious from trying to hit Izuku, but failing incredibly. And basically, you know, after basically just being made a fool of, with no way to redeem himself, and just being, know, his ego being chopped down a couple sizes. Superboy's like, what do I freaking do? Like, everything, all of this, what do I do? Basically, Superboy going through a little bit of an existential crisis. I'm not talking about crisis on infinite Earths. I'm talking about existential crisis. And then basically, not only doesn't he bring up the whole thing about that, even though you're kind of a jerk, but now you can kind of see that you really just have this, anger issues that, my boy Izuku, he was able to deal with that. Yeah, basically, Izuku basically caused Superboy to beat all of the anger issues out of himself right before basically just taking him to the Tsukiyomi world to get all that drained out and filtered out. Nice and good and good sauce. The awesome sauce. And so because of this overall disconnection with everything, Superboy decides that he will finally, start to, be less of a dick. And this, he decides that if he, does indeed stick to his word, he will indeed allow him to become a true member of the clan. And basically, Superboy right now, just in his eyes, Izuku can already see the dedication to fixing what he has basically broken through his entire connection, even with Superman himself. Yeah, Superboy basically just not really having all that many friends. Especially if we're talking about Superboy Prime, like Superboy Prime Superboy. And so, yeah, basically. And so, that all that. Basically, seeing as I don't know his freaking real name, and I just know that he, calls himself Red Robin. Eventually, something to do with Red Robin. Basically, because they were spotted in Gotham, also spotted somehow like leaving Gotham via some sort of weird ass teleportation. That Red Robin basically still doesn't understand. Basically, leaving, Batman because, well, between that moment and the moment where he found a thingy majiggy, basically is whenever they had a true falling out where basically they kind of just owned each other. So yeah, Red Robin basically have Basically followed them there to the position where they met up with Superboy. And, hearing all this, Red Robin's like, Superboy? What's the meaning of this? And basically, Superboy, being actual calm for once, and not absolutely crazy, actually is able to convince Red Robin, as I'm just going to call him until I remember the name of the youngest Robin, convince him to actually join them and become members of the Uchiha clan. And whenever Izuku sees this, and Madara hears this, along with seeing it, basically, as soon as this, goes through, the grapevine of Izuku Midoriya and his partner, the Madabi, basically, Izuku decides, yeah, these guys are Neo Uchiha material. So yes, both Superboy and Red Robin are indeed members of the Neo Uchiha now. And co-founder of the Neo Uchiha is basically the newly reformed Harley Quinn. And well, before Naruto, before that, before they basically decide to head in, Izuku wants to see if he can go one more, way through before completely, just heading on for the night. And so, basically, upon this, farm is oh boy. Basically, another iteration formula. Basically, smack and boop and shoot, or wherever the hell they're getting shot off next. And that place actually basically turns out to be New York. Specifically, New York, New York. New York City, New York. And basically on the TV of a certain house, there's this guy, J. Jonah Jameson, ranting and raving about, Spider-Man, how he's bad influence for the world, blah, 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 blah. And basically, the equivalent of Tom Holland Spider-Man, basically just goes and turns the freaking TV off, not wanting to really hear any more of J. Jonah Jameson bullshit about him being bad for New York. Because technically, he isn't really even being the Spider-Man anymore. He handed that whole thing to freaking Miles Morales. Well, the whole thing to deal with that. Now, that's just not the only thing that's happening. Around this time, there's also been stuff to deal with Venom, the Riot symbiote, and the Carnage symbiote. The Venom symbiote, Venom symbiote, Riot symbiote, and the Carnage symbiote. Stuff to do with that. And talking about those, basically, you know, our new Spidey, Miles, is basically patrolling via, a special Spidey Man, Spider-Man 2099, glider gear thing. He's patrolling around, and he's like, "Oh yeah, this is the shit." He's like, yeah, doing his thing, and then all of a sudden, basically the whole thing that Eddie Brock. I'm also going to be operating on Venom logic, like the Venom movies, Venom 1 and Venom 2, Let There Be Carnage. Basically, yeah. Turns out the Carnage symbiote being even stronger than Venom, which was, for the most part, stronger than Venom, yeah, it actually didn't really die. So, in an accident, when we were trying to prevent a super ginormous freaking heist, the stuff accidentally gets splattered onto a certain also lovable, all too lovable freaking Miles Morales. And as him and the Venom symbiote start to merge, bloodstream, because he did get several cuts, so it's being rather easy for Carter to do so. However, there's a certain thing about Miles, being the heroic spirit that he is, kind of making it difficult for Carnage to really do anything. Plus, now they're being encountered by people, four people specifically. One of them, Carnage, realizing their eyes are terrifying. Like, Carnage, as soon as it begins to look into freaking Izuku's eyes, Carnage automatically stops everything and, is like, kid, if you want to live, freaking die. I'm not even strong enough to combat something like that. And basically, he's like, relax, relax. The two of you could actually be in something very useful. You see, with the original Spider-Man leaving, that does indeed create some problems. However, a certain individual calls himself the Scarlet Spider, and they could take care of whatever was basically Spider-Man decided to leave you with so unresponsibly. No care in the world for child whatsoever. Leaving you to do the work that he no longer do. So, basically, Miles being like, Scarlet Spider? Basically, I would basically see the Scarlet Spider come out of nowhere, and he would have some bad guys, and be like, are these the guys you wanted me to show the kid? And Izuku was like, yes, Scarlet Spider. Indeed, the examples I wanted to show to be able to let him know that we mean business and we mean what we say. Us of the Uchiha, Neo Uchiha. And that Peter has made a terrible, horrible mistake. And basically, Miles is starting to get, interested in this little idea. And Carter is to be actually a little interested in this idea. Basically, Carter started acting like these guys are guys that wouldn't be, too far off from killing someone that needed to be shown to prove a point that they were, going to get through to anyone's skull. Basically, Izuku basically says to Carnage right from inside of Miles' body, through the Sharingan eyes, basically putting Carnage inside the Tsukiyomi world, being like, Carnage. Well, there. My name is Izuku. You meet my friend, the Madabi. And basically, Madara in the Madabi form, basically showing it up as like, I wonder what he tastes like. And Carnage is just like, okay. I just went from being afraid of you to now being absolutely terrified. And just be like, Miles, I think we should do what he says. And he's like, don't worry, Carnage. We were just here to prove a point. A point that maybe Miles here should reconsider his life choices as of late. And basically, Miles being like, well, much of my family are around anymore. After, I don't exactly want to talk about it. And he was like, and we're not going to make you, right? And everybody would just be like, right. And Carnage would just be like, damn, this guy is so freaking powerful. I wonder how he does it. And, well, basically, there would need to be some supervision with Carnage around, but basically the general consensus is, in order to basically understand how Izuku does it, as he says, he would, tag along with Miles inside of his bloodstream as his symbiote protector, basically allowing himself to gain those powers as well as his original gauntlets. So, basically, now they basically have a team, an original team, for the newly, apparently starting to be made, Neo Uchiha. It's two. It's two founders, being Izuku Midoriya Uchiha and Harley Quinn Uchiha. And the other members being Superboy, Red Robin, and with a certain addition of Carnage, Miles Morales. And so basically, New York is under the care now of the Scarlet Spider. And basically, now, new correction tag formula, boom! And God knows wherever the hell they decide to go to next. Because Dallas is